I'm Lisa Michaels, and you have tuned in to Accountability. CEO of a privately held company. If he can come in and dictate who's going to be in charge of that, what else is he going to dictate?
Who's on the board?
What other companies? Maybe he's going to come into your back pocket. Maybe he's going to come into your company. Maybe he's going to tell you, if you've worked your butt off your entire life and you want to make some money and you've finally gotten it to where you're in the black, you're being successful, what's to stop him or any other government institution, now that the precedent has been set, for coming in and taking over your business that you've worked so hard? Profit is not a bad word. People work hard. We are intrinsically, as humans, we are inspired by the opportunity, by the hope that we can go out there and we can make a living and we can earn more if we work harder. And this was shown true from the very beginning of our country. The Pilgrims came over and they tried socialism. Socialism's never worked, and every time it's tried, it fails. Because people want to know that if they're going to work harder, they're going to individually be able to reap the rewards of that hard work and that labor. The Pilgrims came over and they said, you know what? Let's everybody just plant these seeds and grow these crops and build these houses and do this, and then we'll all just eat at the same big table and we'll all be just fine. Well, we weren't just fine. They all starved to death. They were all starving to death. And they said, then the leader of the Pilgrims, I don't know, it was Joseph Smith, whoever it was, and he said, okay, fine, new plan here. And they said, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Jones, you can have this plot, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, you can have this, and so on. So everybody got their own plot of land, and they got to do whatever they got to grow whatever they wanted to, and run it the way they wanted to. They flourished. They were trading with the Indians, and they were very, very prosperous because people need that.
And it led to the Thanksgiving.
That's right.
The first Thanksgiving was a result of that experiment.
Well, what you're looking at here, too, is you're looking at this distrust of a capitalist system, distrust of the free market and operating businesses not under the control of government. And that bothers me on the sense of as a nation to be afraid of private businesses, when private businesses are inherently producing a good that people are trying to value. And if they don't value it accordingly, then the business fails, of course, unless we provide bailouts. So the situation here is saying that the private business, it has all these competitive pressures on it in order to provide a good that the public values, is bad. And government is good, and there's something wrong with that.
What has government ever done more successfully than it could be done in the private sector? I can come up with one thing. I don't know if it's
probably
a similar.
disagree with you, but what is it?
I think it's the military.
The military, okay.
I think they do a good job with the military, and I think that'd be harder to do. But
we have a heck of a mercenary force, Blackwater.
Maybe I'm wrong on that.
When they leave the military alone, the military should function with a sense of mission, and that should be determined by the political leaders. But once the mission has been assigned, then the political leaders should get out of the way. World War II, we won. Vietnam, we lost because of political interference. Johnson was trying to run the war from the Oval Office. He had no theater experience, no field experience. He just listened to a few reports, made decisions where to bomb, what to bomb, which Bush to hit in Vietnam. And so that's where and we've been losing ever since we've had this political interference. So the military's been great, and their military is still great. They just won't leave them alone and let them do the mission.
Bush did, and I thought that was excellent that he did.
He did.
And I think they have been very successful. That's another thing we want to talk to you about. Guess what? We've pretty much won in Iraq, despite what you're hearing on the mainstream media. Okay? Attacks are down. They've got a thriving, government going, and they've been very, very successful. And we need the insurgents have started to go back into Afghanistan, so there's some work still needs to be done there. But they won't tell you about that because they want to gin you up and get you all upset about it and continue to micromanage things. Bush said it's up to the generals, and that's why I think we were so successful.
Well, they have legitimate elections because they have the purple finger. We have elections in this country that are being run by Acorn.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry, I did interjection.
No, that's okay. We want to talk about that too. I have a show called Vote by Fraud where we discuss all these things. It's a fact. When you can register as many times as you want to sign a registration card, and there's many different identities as you want to sign, and you get that many ballots in the mail at the come election time, you can fix the ballot to go whichever direction you want to.
Can I just bring you back to General Motors for a minute? And
let's go to General Motors.
Control of American business. I want to ask you folks, just think back. We already talked about General Motors, but remember AIG was bailed out, and of course the government began to control them. Okay, then the banks were offered TARP money, and then some of them didn't want to take it, but Obama insisted they take TARP money. As soon as they got TARP money into their balance sheet, then
It's like a loan shark.
they were beginning to be told how to run their business, what kind of bonuses to pay, and things like that. And the thing that's most telling about, I'll go ahead and say President Obama, that pains me to say that, but the thing about Obama that scared me, he brought the bankers in after they had TARP money, and he was browbeating them, and one of the things that came out of that was his quote.
What was the quote?
I am the only thing standing between you and the people with pitchforks. He's talking to the presidents of banks, CEOs, and telling them, remember, the protesting of the bonuses, somewhere majestically, buses showed up and took people to the addresses of executives at the bank and protested. Those were the guys with pitchforks. Now, just listen to that threat. I'm the only guy standing between you and the pitchforks. He is threatening.
That's what he did when he worked for Acorn.
This is the threatening of mob rule. This is not in the courts.
That's what he did. Do you know that's what he did with Acorn? He would train people to go in and stand around the boardroom tables and intimidate the bankers into giving loans to people he thought needed to get, the Acorn thought needed to get loans, who could not qualify generally for the loans.
But
that's what
the
he
only
did.
thought, if I leave you folks with only one thought, Obama is the only guy standing between you and those people with pitchforks. Those are the people that want to tear down our country with their pitchforks. And what kind of threat is that to make to me as a citizen?
It's very scary.
Or
It's very scary. And then there's banks like Wells Fargo didn't even want to take the TARP money, and he forced them to. Now they're doing so well that they want to give it back, or they didn't want to do it. And he's saying you can't give it back. You can't give it back. It's just like a loan shark. We're talking mafia rule here. It's very scary. Since Obama became president, the stock market has plummeted. It used to be up around 13,000 or something like that under President Bush.